knows that I ain't going nowhere. I ain't blowing no smoke. I mean, I've been sober, but you should've known it, that I wasn't going.
Hey everyone, this is Mental Health is True Wealth. I am your favorite autonomy coach, AB.
And I'm Whitney.
Whitney who?
Well, I'm a licensed nurse practitioner, and I'm currently expanding, I guess, my expertise into the field of psychiatry and mental health. So hopefully I'll graduate soon and can also get that licensure and certification.
Definitely no hopes. I know that she will be beyond amazing when that time comes. So today, our segment is on understanding anxiety. A lot of people sometimes feel alone and as if no one else is suffering through it. So I feel like if we have a topic of discussion surrounding anxiety, maybe people can understand that it's actually normal.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think first and foremost, we should lead with saying that anxiety is actually one of the most commonly diagnosed mental health disorders in America. Okay, so it's very common. Okay, I think we both have it, actually.
Don't tell my business.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. Y'all missed past that one.
Okay.
All right. So with that being said, can you describe a little bit about what anxiety is?
What anxiety is? Oh, she put me on the spot. So I guess if you're qualifying anxiety as far as symptoms, because there are, of course, a variety of different specific categories of anxiety. But anxiety is like a fear or a worry, oftentimes persistent, which is what separates it like from regular stress, like, oh, I have this deadline for my test, or oh, I have, a speech that I have to do in front of a bunch of people and I may be a little bit nervous. Those things may cause stress, but anxiety oftentimes is maybe an increase in those feelings that's greater than normal. Often it impacts our daily lives, our daily functioning, and sometimes we have these symptoms even when there is no perceived stressors, just worry about what could happen. So yeah.
Very great, very great. So y'all can kind of get the gist of how anxiety plays a role in everyone's life. Everyone has some level of stress, and how it starts to affect you or have the effect on your body may differ in those different areas. But that is a great understanding of what anxiety is.
Yeah, for sure. I think, everybody can't be generalized. So I think it's also important, like I said, to acknowledge that there are different categories of anxiety. So there are some people that have phobias. We all know about people that are afraid to leave their houses. So that's like the agoraphobia. And then there's like arachnophobia. Y'all seen that movie with them spiders. And then, of course, there's like panic disorder, which is like a really bad physical manifestation of symptoms. People can literally feel like they're having a heart attack, chest palpitations, chest pain, shortness of breath. People sometimes get tingling in their extremities. So it's just a really, that one is very physical, and people that have those symptoms are often really scared. It's very important to get those symptoms controlled. Any symptoms really, but those in particular can be very scary. And then, of course, there's generalized anxiety disorder, which is just like that general fear and worry, like a sense of impending doom. And again, those symptoms kind of seep into people's ability to work and to go to school and to do the things that they're supposed to do because they're just so consumed by this fear. So
I would like to note that my girlfriend has several anxieties that she already expressed. And she is fearful of bugs. Insane. We had this infestation of ladybugs, and they was like literally attacking, and she was like deadly afraid.
That's inaccurate. So I was not afraid of the ladybugs. I'm afraid of roaches, and I think that we are all afraid of roaches. I think that is a fear that we can all appreciate. Therefore, I like to move the refrigerator and the stove to get back there, because if you have crumbs and stuff behind your appliances, that's how roaches get in.
What was that other insect you was terribly afraid of that you hired an exterminator to come here?
Oh my gosh, the silverfish.
Oh, she had started a full-fledged war with
it
her.
Was terrible. I was sending emails to the leasing office. Y'all, I cannot. I really was thinking I was just gonna have to move out, because really, honestly, I'd rather sleep in my back seat than sleeping here with them darn silverfish.
She had started a full-fledged war with them, like literally
putting packets out to kill them. Had multiple exterminators coming over here. We probably have lasting internal damage from all the chemicals that was probably spraying around in here. But you know what we don't have? Silverfish.
Yeah, that's very true. But you can see how it will preoccupy somebody. And she spent many of her days in battle with them. But, that being said, I myself have my own personal journey with anxiety. I just think overall, I have this need to meet some level of deadline or some level of success in my mind that I had made up, that I had become fearful of failing. And as we all know, failure is just a part of life. It's not about how you fail, it's how you get back up and keep fighting. But it had overwhelmed me just coming from my early beginnings, and I never wanted to return there. And so I became preoccupied with this ideal of obtaining this perfect life and going down this perfect straight journey. And as that sign say, healing is not linear, neither is life.
I think that's a really good point. I think a lot of times we're so focused on figuring out, like, what can I do to fix this feeling right now? What meds can I take? What can I, and that's not to fault that at all. I do think that, pharmacological therapies are definitely necessary for some people. But I think that, that therapeutic viewpoint of where does this fear come from? How did this develop? When did this start? I think it's so important to really take that journey and figure out what is it about me and my upbringing in my life that has led me to, really harbor all these fears, all this discontent. And so I think that's really cool that you address that.
Yes, and definitely your past plays a major influence on your life. And that's why there's a whole theoretical approach just designed to address the things that have happened in your past that may influence who you are today. And so it's very important to sit back and view that and have people that will hold you accountable. So my girlfriend, when she came into my life, she's like, we need to clean some shit up in here as far as my mental health went. And she actually found my therapist, who is amazing. And that just helped me move forward and understand myself just a little bit better.
I think that's awesome. Yeah.
So if you're sitting back and you're watching this or even listening to it on your way to work, thank you. But moving into our next segment, we're going to discuss how anxiety affects relationships. And it can start to impact your daily functions, as she previously said, but let's bring our viewers into an insight of what anxiety impact in their daily life may possibly look like.
Oh my goodness. I think that we have all experienced it at some point. There are people that, are afraid to, I don't know, okay, you're afraid of social settings. So now you're not going to go to parties, you're not going to go out, you're not going to mingle. Who knows what opportunities you're missing out on to meet new friends, to meet, potential romantic partners, to meet business people that may give you certain opportunities. There are people that are afraid to go to work. I won't even say go to work specifically, because I think that's kind of set aside, but they're afraid to be great at work, because if I'm great, then people notice me and then I have to interact more, and I'm not trying to do that. There are people that are afraid to travel, I will say I used to get a little bit of fear when I would go to airports, and thankfully it wasn't so severe that it kept me from traveling and going places and doing new things. But there are people that can't, so there are just so many.
It just had me sprinting through the airport. That's it. Full on sprint, and I'm not in the best shape of my life to be sprinting.
I'm so sorry that she interrupted us, guys. Anyway, so yeah, it's just when it starts to kind of creep in and just impact your ability to interact with your family members, to interact with your friends, to, I won't say put your all into your work, but maybe to do as much as you can. It impacts students going to school. That's a big one. Who have presentations, need to do speeches, need to present something, and they're afraid because they have all these people looking at them, and their anxiety does not allow them to be in that moment or to do what they're supposed to do. I actually had a friend that had a presentation. It was like an end of semester presentation for school, and I kid you not, she literally scheduled an appointment to have her wisdom teeth taken out that day so that she didn't have to do the presentation. It's crazy, ain't it? So I got him.
Listen, sis said I ain't finna do this and y'all ain't finna force me into it, and it ain't happening. I mean, but this is real. Like, this really starts to impact someone's daily life. And it can get to the point that it's so severe that you may have to be hospitalized, if not, if interventions aren't taking place. So even though, we're talking about this and we're sharing our experiences, we don't want people to take this lightly. We do understand that it affects everyone differently. Some people may have it really mild to the point that they're still functioning, and they may or may not just need medication or therapy. And then you have some that are so severe that you may have to come and see somebody in a hospital, and that's very, very impactful to your daily life. And so we truly understand that.
And so I don't want people, and I don't think that you're saying it in a way where it's like, oh, you have to go to the hospital because your anxiety is so bad. I want for people to address their mental health issues in whatever way is appropriate for them. And if you've gotten to the stage where you may require some sort of inpatient treatment, I think that that's something that, people should take advantage of. Hopefully can go and see a therapist, see a psychiatrist before it gets there. But I want people to use whatever resources they need and are available to them to make sure that they have, the best quality of life, because anxiety legitimately can be very debilitating.
Absolutely. And we went to a mental health Monday here in Atlanta where we were participating in. And one of the exercises that were done was so impactful. And the purpose of us having this conversation and this podcast is really to normalize things. There's a lot of stigma when you start to address mental health, but a lot of us are going through it. So the point of this exercise that we did, everyone put their worries or what was on their mind into this box, I think it was. And the point was the coach pulled it out and she read it. And a lot of us had the same worries, the same concerns, the same thoughts. And so what seems like things that are separating us, and this person seems so far, we're really all the same. We're all going through the same thing, embracing life, trying to manage life in the best way we can. And we'll be shocked that we share a lot of things in common that we really just honestly don't know because we're not talking to complete strangers.
And I think notably, kind of the predominant fear that everyone put into the bag was a fear of failure and just a fear of not living up to other people's expectations. And I think that's so wild. Just because I was one of the people that put that in there, just, full disclosure. And I think that a lot of times we're so afraid of the outcome not being what we want it to be that we just like, oh, I'm not even gonna try. Like, I won't even put the foot forward. I'm just gonna stay over here. I'm not gonna get on the boat and see where it takes me. I'm just gonna chill on this island.
Yeah, because in your mind you rationalize, like, if I don't even try, then I don't have to meet disappointment, I don't have to meet failure, I don't have to see people see me less as. So it's easier to not try than to put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. So the key to all of this is being able to detect some of the signs and symptoms that come along with anxiety. So if you or your loved one is experiencing these signs and symptoms, you might want to check in.
Go to your primary care doctor, schedule an appointment with a therapist. So we're not diagnosing you over this little video now, okay?
No, we're not. Don't go and say Mental Health True Wealth told me I got anxiety, because y'all be doing that with WebMD. Be diagnosing yourselves with heart attacks. That's not what we're doing.
No, but some of the symptoms can include irritability. People can be easily fatigued. People may have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. And again, these are symptoms that typically impact your daily functioning in some way. You may not be as social as maybe you were or that you could be. Your work performance may not be the same. You may not be leaving the house as frequently. It typically impact your ability to function on like a normal level. Again, the phobias are pretty obvious. I think some of us have fears of certain things, but phobias typically are like an avoidance. So you're in the house, you're afraid of outside, so you never leave. You can't be around, spiders if you have like an arachnophobia. If you're afraid of heights, you just don't do anything that requires you to be at a certain elevation. It's just like it's a severity of those fears that kind of makes it like a true phobia. Of course, the panic attacks, the panic disorders, we kind of discussed that one. That's the one that has the more physical manifestation of symptoms. And that one, I don't think sometimes it's as simple as just going to a doctor. If you are having a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I have chest pain, I'm short of breath, I don't feel like I can breathe, that may be an instance where you need to report to an emergency department or seek, medical services a little bit more swiftly, just to rule out anything else, because those symptoms can absolutely mimic a heart attack, an asthma attack. And so you want to make sure that you're not having any true medical issue that needs treatment right now, which a panic attack kind of needs treatment right now too, but you want to make sure that it's not that, but it is this panic disorder. Okay, if that makes sense.
And so as a provider, when someone shows up in the hospital, how do y'all kind of differentiate between them just having a heart attack and a panic attack? Because the person don't know, they coming in here, they dramatic, and
not dramatic.
Not dramatic.
They're experiencing those symptoms.
They're experiencing those symptoms, and it is definitely real for them. But as a provider, how do you separate the two?
Do we do tests just like you do for any other disorder? So we're going to make sure, at least where I work, we're going to run enzymes that are kind of specific to your heart function. They'll do x-rays to make sure that there's nothing abnormal going on with your lungs or your heart. We do lab tests. So sometimes, it's just to exclude these other emergent conditions
so
that it
plug
could
them up
be.
to EKG?
Yes, they get an EKG.
EKG.
Typically. Again, I am not in a provider capacity at this time. This is what could happen.
Yeah. And again, this is just information for the mass. Hopefully you're listening to this on your way to work, and maybe this might spark you to go into your wellness journey. And that's what we're trying to do. A lot of times I feel like there's so much negativity that is thrown at people at such a high rate, and that we need something that just normalizes us as human beings and normalizes what we're experiencing. And that is what Mental Health is True Wealth is about. It is allowing us to open the discussion, to have some real deep conversations about things that we're all experiencing as a whole. So we didn't discuss those symptoms. Now it's what do we do about it? Because it's easy to identify a problem. We want a resolution with it as well. So, where's the solution?
That's an excellent question.
Y'all know what we mean. So, we've talked about all the signs and symptoms, and now we need to go on and move into those coping mechanisms. Because again, we don't want you to develop maladaptive coping mechanisms such as drinking,
withdrawal,
things of those nature that help you manage this anxiety. Some people smoke weed, that's your choice. But if you're trying to mask something, that's a different thing. But again, we don't want you to develop maladaptive coping behavior. We want you to have healthy ones. So what are some ways for them to develop some effective coping mechanisms to deal with their anxiety?
So I think a lot of the things that we kind of learn about are probably helpful for more than just anxiety, honestly. But in those moments where you feel like you're kind of losing yourself to these emotions that you're experiencing, we encourage people to practice grounding techniques so that you can kind of bring yourself back to the moment. And a lot of times, that's just touching something so that you remember where you are, maybe smelling smells, focusing on things that you can see so that you can put yourself back in the time and place where you are instead of worrying about maybe future things like maybe you had in your instance where you were concerned about future failures or just, overthinking about something that happened years ago. Just remember where you are and put yourself here in the present. There are also mindfulness techniques, which kind of work in the same way. But just kind of, checking in with your body. It's another way to kind of put yourself in the moment. I don't know what I'm saying. Tell me about mindfulness.
Yes. So mindfulness can be a couple things. I actually like to practice this coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. And that's me going outside and letting all my senses come alive. Because it's very hard for your brain to focus on this excessive worrying or pending doom and notice all the things that are going on around you. So you might go outside, feel the wind on your face. Absolutely love it. It makes me feel alive. Or hear the birds chirping outside. Or maybe imagining tasting something. Or maybe just touching something. Me and her, we like to travel a lot. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll see some of our travel trips. And while I was in Rome, I took my feet off and I walked around some of these rooms.
Did you get sticky burrs in your feet?
I did not. But I enjoyed it. I was able to feel the ground, which is a grounding exercise. And so mindfulness is just pulling you back and feeling all of those. If your anxiety is really bad when you go to sleep, placing one hand over your chest, one hand over your heart, and just focusing on your breathing. So there's a couple different things that you can do to help you bring yourself back into the present and take a little bit of your control back over your mind. I guess that's how I would like to think about it. Because sometimes, for me personally, my anxiety can overwhelm my brain. Mm-hmm. And I have to take a moment and just center myself and realize, nope, brain, I'm in control of you. It's not the other way around.
I think yoga is a really good, like, formal, I guess, kind of act of that too.
Yes. You better be in shape, though.
Hot yoga.
You better be in shape.
And they have goat yoga.
You better be in shape. Listen, I took a yoga class, right? And sis worked us out. And I'm like, I thought people said they took yoga because it was easier than working out.
Nobody ever said that. She just made that up.
No, I thought
Anywho, then there's exercise. Exercise, I know it takes us a lot to get out the house and go to that gym, but it does release endorphins, which
naturally,
and you know that gives you good feelings. So if you can get out there and get on the treadmill, you know it's probably good for you.
Yeah, you know, it's just once you get over that pain, because my lungs be burning, my calves be burning. Yeah, I sound like I'm having a baby asthma
Just start
attack.
slow. Is the gist of it.
But you know.
And then of course there's pets. So I think, you know, if you're one of the lucky people in the world that gets to have like a dog or a cat or some sort of animal that just gives you comfort, you know.
That's your thing.
If that's your thing. Because, I don't know, there's just something about knowing. I think there's so much anxiety that comes from the way other people perceive us. And our pets oftentimes perceive us perfectly all the time. And so there's just really a lot of comfortability in that. So.
She is a dog stalker. If you are outside and you see us, she will run up and be like, "Can I pet your dog?"
Unless it's
Can
a
I
service
pet your
dog.
dog?
Because I have cooth.
I guess. I don't. How do you know the difference?
They wear vests. And you supposed to ask, "Can I pet your animal? Can I pet your
Yeah,
animal?"
she does have manners. She will ask. She don't just go up there. But you know, yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do on your wellness journey. Though you have to find what works for you, and that might be testing the waters. And so I tell people, even if you start your wellness journey and you're trying to find a therapist, I see it all the time in the comments. People are like, "Oh, I tried therapy. I didn't like it." Therapy is 100% like dating. 100%.
All right.
You have to kind of dig around. Yeah, you have to kind of dig around. When you go shopping, you don't just pick up the first thing. You dig around a little bit and you find what fits you, what you like. You try it on, you know, and you like, hey, this is it. This is me.
Yeah.
And sometimes not even sometimes, all the times, finding a therapist is like that. You have to find that match. And don't give up. Just like in the dating scene. You ain't going one day and be like, man, I ain't never doing this again. No, you got back out there next week and the week after that, and hopefully it all panned out for you. And having a therapist or finding your therapist is the exact same way. You have to find that person. And so it's important to just, in your wellness journey, whatever it is, finding your therapist, finding your coping mechanism, find what works for you, because it's not a one size fit all. All right, so at Mental Health is True Wealth, know that you can submit questions and we will do our best to answer them. And we actually had someone send in a question. It was, how can an individual create a supportive environment for friends or family members dealing with anxiety? Great question. How can you be supportive? someone who is suffering through anxiety, sometimes you just have to give them moments. So if they're like, hey, I'm unplugging, I'm disconnecting, they're probably doing that to restore their mental health. Just be understanding. Give them that space. Be empathetic. They might hit you up and just say, hey, I need to get out the house really quick. That might be their response. If you can manage it, because of course your well-being still matters as well, hey, I'm on my way. Let's go out real quick. So there's many ways that you can be supportive. Again, there's not a one-size-fits-all. You have to know your individual person. They might want you to just come chill at the house and watch TV. But maybe that's a question that would be best asked for the person that they're trying to support.
I think that's an excellent point. I think boundaries and respecting boundaries is huge. I think a lot of times, we think we're being helpful and we're like, okay, girl, like we about to go out, we about to do this, we about to do this. But I have this one friend and she'll literally say like, my social media is on 0. And that's like very like, okay, like, and I just respect that about her. Like there's no, oh, I wish I could go, I have to do this, oh, I wish I could go. So I think too.
Not the lion saying your dog died.
Right. Wow.
Listen, we done seen people kill off their whole families, so don't act like the dog is just out of pocket.
So yes, so I think, maybe the part of the friend or the family member respecting boundaries, and I think maybe on the part of the person who is suffering from anxiety, establishing those boundaries, being very firm in how you're feeling, what you're feeling. Hey, you know what, my social media is on 0, I don't have it in today. Hey, I'd rather stay at home. Hey, if you want to hang out, you're welcome to come here. And that's not to say that you get to stay in the house forever, but it is to say that, healing and therapy and treatment is a journey. And so it's not the responsibility of those around you to say, hey, you're going to be outside this weekend. Hey, you're going to do this. Hey, you're going to do this speech. You advance at your own pace and at the pace that you and your treatment team create for you. Yeah. That creates a safe and healthy space for you to improve. And so, whatever that looks like for you, you have to make sure, I think, and again, everyone is different, that the people that are closest to you understand. So there's no confusion. Okay, girl, your social media on 0, say less. I'm going to call you in a few days.
Yeah. That is very, 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 very true. Boundaries is a whole nother segment that we will do later, but it is very, very true. You have to respect people while they're on their wellness journey. And I tell people all the time that you have the right to be selfish on your wellness journey. You have the right to be selfish about your mental health. You have to take care of yourself, and that's very important. So, everyone loves success stories. Success stories. Everybody wants to know that there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So can you give us maybe a success story from maybe one of your patients? It doesn't have to have any details, just in general, like success story.
Well, you talk about me. So I have a few anxieties or things that are very anxiety provoking for me. One of which is heights. So we were talking about how you can have your support systems and what they can do for you. So preface the story, I was on a cabin trip with my friends. We went on like a ski lift, and y'all know things get high. Like this thing was high up in the sky. And I don't know, it just all hit me at one time. And I just remember I was like bawling. I wanted them to let me down. Obviously, them folks can't just let me down. It is insane. And I'm sitting next to like my best friend. And he did this amazing grounding exercise with me that I didn't know was grounding at the time. But he literally was like, hey, I came here with my family members some years ago. Do you see that house right there in the distance? That's where we stayed. He was telling me about how some of the appliances and stuff was broke down. He started pointing at restaurants. And I don't know, he was just so adept at handling me because I was wilding, y'all. I was finna have to call the fire department, okay? Fast forward with this same friend, like a couple years later, I skydived. And did I have like a little bit of a panic attack in the plane? Yes. But I did it. And of course, that's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't just, I'm scared of heights, not going to skydive. I understand that is not the course for everyone. But I had a friend that I was comfortable enough with and I had quite a few experiences with. And I was comfortable doing this thing with him. And so I think that's just like a testament to how good support systems can help you to make advances in things that you didn't think you were capable of doing. And I went on a ski lift last year, and I did not cry.
We did.
And I zip lined.
And she did. And she did. Listen, I'm gonna let you know right now, honey, I'm not jumping out no perfectly good operating plane. Okay? I like my plane to go up, and then I like it to come down. So I just needed to go in that order. I think that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come down with you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the difference.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was an amazing thing or whatever. I myself could never do it. Y'all gonna have to go ahead and call the ME, because by the time we hit that ground, I'm DOA.
Okay.
Dead on arrival, if you don't know.
Dramatic. So
I ain't dramatic, baby. I'm finna be gone. Somebody come get me. But I think that was a wonderful thing. You overcoming your fear of heights. You know, I get a little nervous when the plane has too much turbulence. So I know I can't go out that window, not voluntarily. I probably ain't even gonna put the pack on. But that was that yeah, I'm just not gonna do it. But I think that was amazing that you took that moment to embrace and say, I'm bigger than this.
Yeah.
That was dope.
And it was literally the best experience of my life. Just as far as how exciting it was. And I'm so grateful that I was able to get to a point where I didn't let my fear keep me from experiencing that. It was really great.
That's dope. That's dope. Unfortunately, we are coming to our end. And with that being said, what some advice do you have for our listeners who may have anxiety, family may have anxiety? What advice do you have?
I think it's important to do check-ins on yourself. I think just like we need to be going. I know some people don't do that. How we go to our primary care doctor and we need to get checked, our blood pressure, our hemoglobin A1C, how we're supposed to check and make sure things are in tune. I think it's important to check in on your mental health too. And if you notice, dang, I just really haven't been feeling like leaving the house lately. Dang, I just, I'm really not as social as I used to be. Darn, like this fear of, I don't know, speaking to my boss at work it just feels like it's a little more than what it should be. I think it's important to reach out. And I think, a lot of us maybe don't want to acknowledge that, but more often than not, most of us need a little bit of therapy. We need somebody to talk to. We need to process something. And I think that the first step in treating anxiety is to acknowledge that you have it. Hey, like this is something that's bothering me that maybe shouldn't bother me this much. And so I just want people to check in on themselves, seek help. Again, I know I said this before, and I'm going to say it all the time. You deserve the highest quality of life that you can give to yourself. Yes. And part of that is being comfortable and not being anxious and not being afraid and not being fearful. Not that you won't ever have those feelings, but you shouldn't have them more than is necessary. So that's my little 10 cents.
Okay.
Do you have any advice for your listeners?
Yes. So one, I think it's very important to understand that it is okay to not be okay. To break the stigma around anxiety, we have to normalize it. The only thing that I want you to understand, while accepting that you might not be well right now, is to understand that you have to get up. So, however that looks for you on your wellness journey, start moving towards some kind of peace, some kind of healing, some kind of serenity, or whatever, because life is worth living. It's worth living. On top of that, I want people, as she stated, prevention I really think is key. And I don't think a lot of times people take into account how much their mental health affects them. And what a lot of people don't know is poor mental health can start to manifest into physical illnesses. And so I want people to take a more proactive approach to checking in, dealing with their mental health, and understanding that your mental health is the true wealth. And with that being said, I appreciate you tuning in to your personal trainers, your mental health personal trainers. And please tune back in for the next session. If there's any questions that you would like us to answer in the next segment, please feel free to send us an email or hit us up on Facebook, and we will incorporate that into our next podcast. Until then,
bye.
wow, that's how she's gonna see y'all. We appreciate it.